Joining me now to discuss further is Rabbi Levi Shemtov. He is the Executive Vice President of American Friends of Lubavitch. He's also Jared Kushner and Ivanka Trump's rabbi. Thank you for being with us today.
Thanks for having me.
What is your reaction to everything that we've been learning about this shooting?
Well, obviously, one of pain, one of disappointment. But obviously, even though we feel these very deep feelings of pain, disappointment, sorrow, compassion, of course, and comfort to be offered to those who have lost their loved one, Lori Kay, as well as those who sustained injuries. But the overwhelming sentiment must always be hope and the future and moving forward, and not allowing something as heinous and as terrible and evil as this to stop us or cut us down. And I've been thinking a lot about it ever since someone came to synagogue yesterday who actually is a congregant at that Chabad of Poway synagogue to tell us that they had just heard about the news. I don't know how they found out, but they are people who walk their children to that synagogue all the time, and I could see firsthand the pain and the difficulty that they were going through.
The actions of Lori Kay are just remarkable, the sacrifice she made. This also falls on the 6 months, I believe, to the day of the Tree of Life synagogue shooting, and then since then we have had attacks on people of faith in Sri Lanka. We've seen it in New Zealand. We just see hate that seems to be on the rise. And I'm wondering, do you believe it is the climate in this country and in the world that is contributing to this?
Well, I believe that we're dealing with a climate that didn't start yesterday or last year. This has been, for the better part of the last decade, something which has begun to rise. I don't think the gunman knew about Chabad. I think he was looking for a Jewish place to strike. And the pain I feel is not merely as someone from Chabad. I feel it as a Jew. I feel it as an American. I feel that it is a puncture of that which has been so sacred in our American life. Personally, I'm a great-grandchild of people who were murdered in cold blood by the Nazis. I'm a grandson of one who died in the war fighting the Nazis in the military, and on another side, one who was persecuted for practicing their faith. And here I am in the United States of America, openly able to do whatever I want from a religious practice perspective, and to see someone who would gun people down in cold blood merely because of what he perceived to be their religious affiliation, without even knowing who he was killing, shows a very deep evil within this person. And I've been thinking, what can one say in times like this? And obviously there are words that can work, and I do want to reference words that we heard from my mentor, the mentor of the Chabad Lubavitch movement, which, as you know, is in every state in over 100 countries. Rabbi Menachem Schneerson, the Lubavitcher Rebbe, was once asked to provide comfort for the community in Kfar Chabad, which had experienced a cold-blooded terrorist attack. And the rabbi answered with 3 words. He answered in Hebrew, "Behemshech habinyan tenuchamu." You will be comforted when you will continue to build. So I believe that if we have a task as individuals, as communities, as a nation, it's to make sure that we smother the crackle of gunshots of hate with acts of decency, goodness, kindness, improving the world, bringing us all to a better space. I want to tell you one idea which the Rebbe also strongly emphasized, was the need to inculcate values and building of character into the education of children, not merely the acquisition of knowledge. And every year since 1978, the president has actually recognized his birthday as Education and Sharing Day to reiterate that. Now, one initiative that he proposed. And I believe it would behoove the leadership of our nation, our public officials, to take heed and focus on this perhaps more closely, is something called the moment of silence. Now, we all know that we pray differently from each other, and I don't want anyone telling me how to pray, and I don't want to tell anyone else how they should pray.
How
But
would
a
this
moment
work?
of silence,
How do you see that this would work?
well, a moment of silence does not allow any instruction on how to use it. So the Rebbe said very clearly that if I tell you how to pray, you may be excluded. And even one who's not a believer or someone who is of one faith or another would go and ask their parents, or if they couldn't find the answer from their parents, they would ask their mentor or religious leader, what is it that I should contemplate in that moment of silence? And he even said that just like the parents
So
have to...
the idea, not just to move it along here, is inclusion then.
It's not only inclusion, but it's the lack of exclusion, because there's also publicly available FBI data that clearly spells that those, or clearly shows that those states which have mandated a moment of silence, and remember, it's silence only.
Right.
Those states that have mandated a moment of silence have seen a drop in juvenile crime.
All right.
And even if
we
they
have to leave it there, Rabbi. I thank you very much for being with us. We do appreciate it. Rabbi
We hope
Levi
to be
Shemtov.
together again for happier things. Thanks very much for having me, and let's hope that we move forward to a much better, brighter future. Thank you.
Yes, indeed. Thank you, sir.